It's March 25th, 2025. I'm Kim Updike. Are you ready to pump up the volume on hyper-personalization? Get ready to take a deep dive into what personalization means in today's market, how to leverage AI and create campaigns that connect. We're laying down our best tips, tracks, and strategies with our chart-topping panelists. Wherever you're tuning in from, dial it in, crank it up. Live from Orlando, it's Glimpse. With your host, Betsy Davis.
Thanks, Kim. Hello and welcome, everybody. We really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedules to join us. Look, I get it. Another hour on a Zoom call, it's a lot. So we understand and we appreciate your time today. And listen, if you've been paying attention to social media and emails, you've been seeing Glimpse everywhere. So what in the world is Glimpse? We've created Glimpse to become a platform, a community of marketers, industry leaders, folks that we have here with us today to talk about the trends that are happening in marketing, to talk tech, to talk what the future holds, whatever all of us are tackling to try to figure out and feel like we're not on an island alone. That's what we want to do. And we're going to have more Glimpse events. It's not just about today. We're going to have more throughout the year and more coming into 2026 as well. So as we prepared for today, we really looked at what is everybody talking about? If we look at the marketing conferences that are happening, what are those topics? If we talk about what are the marketing trends of 2025, you could not get away from hyper-personalization. It came up every time. And so as printers, it really resonated because we've been doing personalized print for a really long time with our customers, but it feels like for some reason that it's a different conversation now, that there's something that's trying to elevate hyper-personalization and personalization in the marketing community. So we're going to talk about that today, and we're going to talk about it with our panelists that we have with us today. I'm going to start with Phil Corbett. Welcome, Phil, here in the studio with me.
Woohoo! Let's go.
Phil is VP of Strategic Partnerships with AMP Analytics. We use AMP a lot for our own purposes and helping with our clients, everything data. So he's going to bring a really interesting conversation from the data side. Then we have Carrie Hatch, former CEO of MDB Communications, bringing the agency side of the conversation with us today. So we're happy to have Carrie here joining us from Washington, D.C. And next, my main man, Ken Madsen. He calls himself the MarTech Whisperer. He's Chief Marketing Technologist of M2 Advisory Council and also owns his own agency, Mad Production. So excited to talk MarTech with Ken today. And then last but not least is Alex Alzate, Director of Marketing Systems and Operations for Quest Diagnostics. Alex has also worked with The Gap, GSK Pharmaceuticals. So we wanted to make sure we had somebody representing the brand side today as we talked, because it's the brands that are actually having to execute on all the things that we're talking about today. So excited to have Alex's point of view here. So we've proven that these four, we can talk our legs off about this topic, but we also want you guys to be engaged with us as well. So I've got my girl Kim back there checking Zoom. So raise your hand, put questions into chat. We'll be taking moments intermittently to hear from each of you and have you engage in the conversation. So hoping you can do that. And I'm going to ask for the guys back in the back if we can hit the music off for me. Appreciate it. We're live. This is the stuff that happens. They kept telling me this was going to happen. So I had a little beat going in my ear the whole time I was talking.
Did they hear it too?
I don't think so.
Oh man,
I don't know. I was kind of jamming out by myself. It's fine. It's all right. All right. So hyper-personalization. Here we are. We're going to talk about it. And why are we going to talk about it? The statistics that we have prove why. It's working. Consumers are expecting it at this point, and they're responding to it. So that's what we really want, right? When we're executing a marketing campaign, the whole objective is to have the consumers that we want to engage with us and spend the money at the end of the day. But again, for some reason, we've been doing personalization for a long time, but it feels new. So I'm going to hear from all the panelists to kind of kick off the conversation today. Carrie, I'll start with you. Why do you feel like hyper-personalization now is such a hot topic in the market?
Well, now more than ever, consumers have a big part of a voice in this conversation. They have higher expectations, know me, reach me, delight me. We have to meet that need in order to be relevant anymore. And they also like to have a control over their information, what they share with you, what they're willing to share with you, and how you act upon that is an important part of the dialogue.
Phil, what about you from the data side? What are you guys sensing?
Well, I think a lot of the excitement comes around just what the capabilities of AI has, right? Now, knowing what AI agents can do and how you can harness data, no matter what data store it lives in, that's very key. And also, I just think that, when I think of hyper-personalization, I mean, personalization is kind of an expectation at this point, right?
Yep.
But the hyper-personalization is like, when I think of it, I think of like segmentation. So, a 20-year-old woman's not gonna have the same conversation. You're not gonna talk to her the same way you talk to a 50-year-old man, right? So it's all about like how you segment the data, how you organize the data, segment it, and then create micro segments using AI. So, taking it to another level. So you not just know how much money they have, how the demographics, how old they are, where they live, and that kind of stuff, but also like what are their interactions with customer service? What products have they bought in the past, right? What marketing campaigns they responded to or not.
Yep.
So all that can go in the stew, if you will, of like, of how to make it a much more personalized experience. But it's definitely, I mean, if you're not doing it, you're gonna have to do it soon.
Yeah, to your point, I mean, everybody's doing it, but it's time to elevate it.
Yeah.
It's that time to elevate it. Ken, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think just to echo what Phil said, I mean, it's, AI is curating, taking many different databases about a customer, about the information around their world, their journey, and they're creating what we call a golden profile. And the name of the game right there is it's intimate, it understands your journey, what your needs are, it's delighting you. And that's where the hyper-personalization, I think, it's actually on steroids, where AI is really delivering many different differentiated experiences.
Alex, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, chime in there. The idea of hyper, I think about, you know me better than I do, and that is what Gen AI and AI is doing right now. It's gaining that trust between the brand and the organization and with the customer, which is super important to get this right. Also, personalization is not new, but when we think about hyper personalization, technology is in a good place right now. It's doing a lot that we weren't able to do in the last couple of years. It enables us to really connect and make that one-to-one marketing connection quickly at scale, and also think about our average screen time. And I just looked this up this morning, our US average screen time is up to 7 hours a day, which means that we're on our screens a lot. Our Gen Zers are up to about 9 hours a day. And so we have to catch their attention across all channels as much as possible.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm gonna talk print for a second, but you were talking about being able to do this at scale, and it's changing for us as printers as well. I mean, we've just invested in inkjet web technology, which allows us to do just that, which is now we can take all of this hyper-personalization that's happening at the brand level and now execute it in a timely manner, in a cost-effective manner, but produce millions of pieces that every single one of them are different. And that's new to the print market. So to be able to now do that, what feels like was easy to do digitally, blast millions of communications, now we can do that from a direct mail perspective too. So even leveling up what we're able to do from a marketing and print perspective is happening in our world as well. Carrie, I'm gonna put you on the spot a little bit. Whenever we've all had many conversations in preparation for today, and Carrie has said a couple of times that it feels like we're living in the wild, wild west. What makes you say that? And I've always gotten a kick out of it when you've said it.
Well, it's that shiny object notion. What's out there? What is it that I don't know about that I should be doing, that I should be bringing to our clients for consideration? There's so many options, but it's the race to the market. Who can get there first? Who can do it the best? Who can deliver on the best results? So it's a time to step up, or as one of our colleagues said, get out.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
I saw an interview recently with Reid Hoffman, who's he's pitching a book about AI. But it was interesting how he phrased it. He was comparing this era of AI with the Industrial Revolution. So like think about how the Industrial Revolution just utterly changed Western society and every industry, right? And of course there's transition periods. You had child labor laws and other things, other hurdles you had to get over, but it wasn't smooth. But he called it, and I really liked it, it was like the cognitive industrial revolution.
Yeah.
So it's like the steam engine of the mind.
You know, I've been
I really
hearing it a
like
lot
that.
too, that we're in this phase of revolution, and
Yeah.
but I hadn't heard it put in the industrial
You
revolution.
know, I have to give him
phase.
credit. It's not me.
Yeah.
So, but I like it.
Who was the author again, in case people didn't catch it?
Reid Hoffman. He's the guy. He's a venture capitalist. He co-founded LinkedIn.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, listen, it can feel overwhelming, right? I mean, again, there's a lot out there. I had almost an anxiety attack just preparing for this because there's so much out there for it. Kim, you know, there was some anxious moments in preparation for this, but some of it is just, there's so much out there. And so where do you start? And Phil, I'm going to toss it back to you because data is kind of where it all starts.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you know, we use AI to help organize and clean data, and also to, you know, to get us to a point where we get some of the noise out of that data before we start modeling. And so we build, so to give you a little context, we build predictive models for acquisition campaigns and for other things, but primarily for acquisition, right? So our guys we have created our own data, right? We have unique variables that we use. I mean, thousands of these things. And it's kind of important to know this because these data variables, you know, we use AI to figure out, okay, which of these variables is going to make this model more predictive, right? It's going back to the lasagna thing. I don't know if you want to talk about the lasagna.
I love to talk. We know this. I love to talk about lasagna. Can we talk about pasta and cheese for just a minute?
Yeah, and the pasta and cheese. So I made the comparison. I think it's all right. So I make lasagna, I make it all the time, and I really make kind of really, you know, mediocre, serviceable lasagna. But you think about the ingredients that go into it, well, that's like a data model. So we work with a lot of like companies that do, you know, finance, retail and stuff, but also home services. So the home service, if you're a data scientist and you're in the home service space, like you have to, I mean, you're working with property data, which is fairly, you know, predictive. You have to have a house. You have to own the house. You have to be the, you know, the one on the deed anyway. It has to be of a certain age to replace the windows or the floors or whatever. And you have to have the money. And so you're working with those types of variables, but you need separation, you need lift, you need an extra edge to find the right prospect. And that's where these variables come into play. AI helps us select which variables will be more predictive. And that's where the lasagna comes in. Because
Give it to me.
I found this recipe and I sent it to all of them. I found this recipe that includes boursin cheese. You know, the thing comes in a
Little
in
round
the
wheel. Yep,
real thing,
yep.
and beef bouillon and stuff. So I put that in to my lasagna, and I'm telling you, it was like popped.
So this
It
is
popped.
what you're doing.
This is what
with
we do.
data.
Our variables
You're
make it pop.
You're making cheesy lasagna that's
Yes, that's right.
changing lives over
That's
here.
right.
I like
Yeah.
it. I
The
like
lasagna.
it.
This is like the lasagna chronicles right here. You know?
And he did send us the recipe for this lasagna earlier today. So we'll send it out to anybody. If you put that in the chat, if you'd like the recipe for lasagna.
Make it happen.
Hey Ken, I'm going to pick on you really quick. So again, the software that's out there and all of the marketing platforms that are out there to help execute against this, where should brands start when it comes to the tech conversation and piece of this?
Well, first of all, you're right. There's a lot of, the good news is there's a lot of marketing technologies out there. And I think Scott Brinker's Landscape produced over 14,000 technologies today. That's good news. The bad news is there's over 14,000 of these technologies out there.
Yeah, exactly.
How the hell do we navigate it, curate and build an ecosystem to help us deliver and optimize marketing automation plays, creative automation plays, and the list goes on. You know, look, and it's a great question. You know, the folks here, the audience is probably thinking, okay, how the hell do I even start to bring in, for example, AI and or optimize something that I'm doing already or modernize it, right? So lean on your partners, lean on your consultants if you have some. Let somebody come in, do a discovery, understand your current state, systems of record that that's given that you have. Look at the process or processes that you have within the organization. So how are you connecting that and sharing that with other departments? And that's the people part. So there's a tech, understanding the tech. There's the process or processes around that. And of course, the people and the organization. Look at that current state. And then from there, build based on your objectives. And if you step back even further, let's really level set here. Yep. Make sure the organization at the C level is behind the transformation and are going to put resources in, and there's going to be an edict or a declaration to the organization that we're going there. We're going to improve this, right? So you do the current state look, Then build with a phased approach, look at how are we going to get to that future state or mature what we're doing, and consider the AI play, of course, because that's foundational. So those are some of the things I talk about with brands today.
That's great. I'm glad you brought up the executive sponsorship because you've said it a couple of times as we chatted, so I wanted to make sure that you touched on it. So I'm glad you came back to that point. So I'm going to take a pause for a minute and highlight, hopefully some of you got this piece, but we couldn't have a conversation about hyper-personalization and not try it ourselves. So we at Sandy tried to drink our own Kool-Aid, if you will, and created a hyper-personalized direct mail invitation for this event. So we're going to go an 80s vibe, and we've done an 80s inspired video montage of how we've created this hyper-personalized invitation for Glimpse. Take a look.
Grabbing your audience's attention with personalized content can drive engagement like nothing else. Today's case study highlights the creation of Sandy Alexander's invitation to our Glimpse event on hyper-personalization. We leveraged AI, variable data print software, and state-of-the-art printing technologies to create a direct mail invitation that is personalized for each recipient. Let's see how this campaign was created. The first step is the creative design phase. In this case, our theme is a personalized mixtape. After several creative iterations and the application of if-then business rules, we have finalized our creative and variable content. We are ready for data. Managing the data and knowing how to incorporate data logic can be challenging. In this example, the variables driving the content are the recipient's name, address, and industry affiliation, and a personalized playlist based on their industry. For example, if they work in fitness, automotive, or food and beverage industry, we want songs that follow that theme. We used AI to generate playlists based on various industries. Then we created the industry-specific playlist in Spotify and generated a playlist QR code. The recipient will then be able to scan the QR code to listen to their specific Spotify list. To generate the data-driven creative, we utilize specialized software. Variable date print, or VDP software, associates the variable data fields with their respective creative content. Then, we merge the creative imagery with the variables of written content, and we are ready for pre-press. And then, on to the press. This is where the rubber really meets the road. Depending on the total piece count of your direct mail campaign, we can print on one of two presses. Either the Screen Inkjet Web Digital Press or the Konica Minolta KM1. The Inkjet Web Digital Press can produce over 1 million pieces a day, while the Konica KM1 can produce over 200,000 in one day. We then print, cut, fold, and prepare each piece for the post office. Personalization has been proven to increase response rates. It's time to get creative and get personal. At Sandy Alexander, we have the technology and expertise to bring your hyper-personalization direct mail campaigns to life. Contact Sandy Alexander for more details.
Listen, it was fun creating it. It's even more fun seeing it come to life. Ink on paper, you know we love that. So for those of you that did receive it, I hope you were able to go into Spotify, download your personalized playlist based on the industry. And like I always say, have a little moment to dance in the kitchen during the middle of the day and have some fun with it. So like I said, I promised that we would take some questions. So I'm going to kick it over to Kim. Kim, any questions coming from the audience?
Hey, Betsy, thank you. Yes, we do have questions coming from the audience. And our first one is from Orlando. So, question, how do you tie in your digital campaigns with direct mail?
Well, thank you from Orlando. Ken, I'm going to pass this one to you. This feels very much in your lane to help us answer.
Yeah, I mean, I tell you, I want to say 6 out of 10 CPGs we go in to do an analysis, like I said, that gap analysis. I'm very surprised there's a silo between the POP, print, POS, collateral, printing materials. That team is not talking to the omnichannel team, or they're not utilizing the same CDP. That's the first thing that needs to be broken down. You need to collaborate on, if you have a loyalty program, that database, like Phil was alluding to, is so important. It's your gold. It's precious. It's got all your scalable things you can do. But I'm still surprised today. I mean, look, we can bring in AI and bring in these fantastic things to make hyper happen, but fundamentals need to be put in place, and that is connecting your traditional advertising and omni-channel plays with the print campaign. They should be in synergy.
Yeah, I will say this. We talked about this a little bit earlier. We have actually had customers come to us that were using marketing automation platforms strictly for digital, and then said, we need direct mail to be a part of this journey as well, because we're seeing people engage with the traditional channels even more so. So we've created MailPath, which is an application within Salesforce to do just that. So it's allowing our customers to do exactly what you just said, Ken, now truly combine and make this a true omni-channel experience, combining traditional with digital communication. So I think people are trying to get there, but I will tell you, we get a lot of questions about, we don't even know where to start. So kind of going back to that, where do you start conversation?
Break down the silos, and if it's really going to work and you're going to go to market, whatever channels they are, it takes a village, not just one department.
Yep.
Yeah, like Ken's saying, if you surround print with digital, it works. It works over time.
It's crazy.
It really, I mean, think of it, the print piece sits around for, I mean, for the most part, it's tactile, sits around for a bit. You know, you're getting hit up with emails and display ads and stuff
Speak
like that.
my language, Phil.
I'm telling you,
Speak my
preaching.
language. Preach, Phil. Preach. We love this. Keep going. Yeah.
When I moved out, I just moved, right? And I bought a house for the first time. I'm a New York City guy, right? A year ago. I've got a mailing campaign, came to my door. Ken, based on your area, based on the size of your house and your taxes and your electric bill, you could save a certain amount per month. All right. The metrics were there. They knew a lot about me already. So I gave a call, talked to a person, gave them a little bit of information. They collaborated with Zillow, Google Maps, AccuWeather, utility metrics. And within an hour, I got back an email that showed where the solar panels would go on my house. So it's like, holy cows. And then the actual metrics of savings that were going to happen. I trusted every piece of that journey so much, I wasn't going to go to somebody else.
Yep.
It's crazy.
Good point. You know, it's talking about, it's trust. It's building that trust that you have to work with. But I want to take it back and go to the basics. When you're in an organization and you're thinking about doing a hyper-personalization project or anything, you have to get buy-in, right? And you have to have everybody agree on what the problem is. Because if everybody doesn't agree, that's your foundation. And start from there and ask yourself, where in the sales journey or you know, your customer journey, does it make sense to use certain channels like print? I think that's super important. The technology piece for me, I think about it last, because I want to get the fundamentals correct to understand what we're trying to accomplish. And then like Ken says, learn the gaps. Where are the gaps? And get your crew together, right? So we can get started. And usually when it comes to technology, I'll call Ken, and Ken and I will just talk like, hey, you know, like, have you demoed this tool? You know, another thing I do a lot, and Ken does too, is we demo a lot of tools just out of curiosity, just to understand what they do. Because when we're in certain situations at our organization and there's certain problems that arise, we got that understanding of what that tool does and how we can apply it, and we can speak to it in a business term, you know, so that's really helpful.
Let me just add, you know, this importance really underscores consumer expectations and business goals, really starting at the very top of the funnel. You know, in our case, vetting best of breed partners that you want to work with along that chain, people that have demonstrated success, they're fluent in their expertise, they have the requisite judgment. These are kind of soft skills, but they do impact the outcome and certainly the relationship. People that understand the difference between reach versus overreach. You know, where are we going to annoy our prospective customer? They understand risk mitigation. You know, not that I'm a lawyer, some people have accused me of that, but you need to be aware of some of the compliance issues, among other things. But it's that X factor, making sure that you have your partner alignment with your agency, with your outside partners, and the brand itself that make all this hum.
It's because you're in Washington, D.C., Carrie, is why everybody assumes that you're a lawyer. Listen, we've talked about a lot, but I want to jump really quickly to, we've said it who knows how many times already in this conversation, but the acronym of the year, AI. AI. I mean, it's everywhere. But it is powerful, no doubt. We saw that we used it for our invitation. We all use it on a daily basis. But I mean, again, it's powerful. But Carrie, we've talked about this a little bit. How do you still use it to create all of this great content, but don't lose the authenticity of the brand and your brand voice and how you're talking to your consumers?
Well, we first all should acknowledge that consumers have huge BS detectors. I mean, you're not fooling anybody here. Let's think about it. You need to demonstrate that you understand their needs, their desires, and their preferences. Really become their partner, as Ken said, in that journey. That means no perfunctory creative. You cannot do the same old and win in the marketplace of ideas right now. So you have to tap into the emotional triggers and inclinations of those prospective consumers. Sometimes that plays along the themes of nostalgia and happiness or belonging and scarcity. In Ken's case, the need to save money and to be smart about it in his home heating and cooling. But the utility of your offer also can demonstrate how committed you are to that customer relationship through AI. But AI is just a tool. It's not the face of the brand.
Yeah.
So speaking of brand, Alex, I mean, Quest is more of a B2B kind of communication, but what are you guys, how are you tackling it? What are you thinking about how you want to use AI within your organization, or even if you think about just other brands that you've worked with in the past, not necessarily speaking directly to Quest, but your thoughts as a person focused on marketing operations and marketing tools day to day?
AI is a hot topic. I'll keep it general. Firstly, AI, I'm a big fan. And in some organizations, some aren't, right? And it's really educating the perception of what AI is. A lot of people think that, oh my God, it's going to replace my job. Other people are advocates. I think what's important is so we can start to advocate AI and have our organizations understand how we want to use it and start to understand what tasks can be AI. We can leverage AI, right, to do tasks for us. And once we get that, what we have to also understand is AI needs a human driver, right? We can't just put together all these technologies and just let it go, because you lose that context, that human aspect of what this thing's supposed to do. And so what's really important in organizations is having an understanding of what we're going to use it for, and have the organization understand that, look, we're still in the driver's seat and someone still needs to drive the bus, right, to get where we're going, and we're going to do this together. So I think the biggest thing that I'm seeing as a theme is the trust of using AI in an organization.
Phil, I was just about to pick on you. What are your thoughts?
Well, I just want to kind of expand on what Alex was saying about the human factor. So, we have 5 analysts that are brilliant, and they're building these great predictive models, right? But they're involved in it, right? They are really involved in it, and they have their hands on. It's not just a black box that's getting this all done, right? I mean, they're using it to do certain tasks. Some tasks are automated, right? But they're hands-on and in it. So I also look like, by the way, just the customer experience part of it too, a customer service. Other usages of AI other than marketing. Well, I guess this is part of marketing. So if you call, I call up customer service and I get frustrated very easily. I'm from New York. I talk fast. I get very agitated. I just can't. Ken knows. It's the same thing. I mean, that's why we have gray hair. You're waiting online, go to VRU, you get they get the dumb, Steely Dan music playing over and over again, right? You just end up yelling into the phone, like representative, kind of thing. But I saw a demo of an agent, an AI agent, that I thought was brilliant. It's not just having a conversation. Someone's returning a shirt, or they had the wrong size shirt, and the whole conversation kind of flowed. Okay, yeah, we can replace that, no problem. Well, let me see if we have any inventory in the store. Do you want to go to the store, or do you want me to mail it to you? So now they have APIs checking different data stores, in real time, having this conversation, right?
Yeah.
And they did other things too, like they looked at past purchases. Oh, I saw you bought this. Do you want this? And just having a normal conversation, and it all lasted 2 to 3 minutes, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow,
Yeah.
that was cool.
And consumers are expecting that, Phil,
Yeah.
today. Like you said earlier, whether it's an avatar or an agent. And I also think there's a maturity model around that we're going to see, where Alex was talking about we're using AI to do jobs for us. And I call them TVAs, tangible value applications of AI, right? Where's the TVA here? So, we have to think about where is it really being applied?
Yeah. I will say this, it's interesting. And I'm sure a lot of companies are doing this, but we started our own AI committee within Sandy Alexander. And I immediately think, it's going to be all of our tech team and our data scientists and our system architects. But people from every division and department of the company signed up for it.
That's great.
Which I thought was fascinating.
Yeah.
So it's finance and manufacturing. And so for us to even try to embrace it from a manufacturing perspective has been really fun to watch, and everybody's really excited about it. But to your point, Alex, it still takes us to make it happen, right? So, all right, so lots to learn. I haven't had a chance to mention, but I'm hoping that you guys have had a chance to see it running on the bottom of the screen. We've talked about all of the content and all of the softwares are out there. We tried to curate some content on your behalf that you can access at sandyalexander.com/news. I always tease, I talked about our tech team. I always say, can you put it in Betsy terms? Can you Betsy size this conversation? So we did that very thing for all of the AI acronyms. You've heard us say some of them already today. Put them in one simple sheet so we can go and learn really quickly. But we have case studies and white papers and a lot of really great content available for you on our website. Again, sandyalexander.com/news. Go and download all that good stuff. All right, so back to Kim. Questions from the audience?
Hey, Betsy.
Hey.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey.
Hey.
Yes, we do. We've got a question from Sandy from Tulsa. And she asks, we've all heard of ChatGPT, but there are more robust tools out there. What should we use? And what are your thoughts?
Okay. So beyond ChatGPT, what other tools are out there to give a more robust solution when it comes to AI?
There are a lot of them.
Yeah?
I mean, I just think,
Yeah? Give me more.
Pearls of wisdom from Phil. So our team uses Claude to write in test code from Anthropic, Claude.
Okay.
I use Otter AI just for notes. I can't take notes anymore. I don't know if you guys
All I know is that every time I'm on a Zoom call, somebody's AI note thing pops up on me. There's no telling what I'm going to say on this conference call, so can we turn that off, please?
No,
but I get it. I mean, it is handy whenever I do
I
want
like
them
it
taken.
because it keeps me in line. It keeps my filter on.
There you go.
Yeah, because I can get in trouble.
Okay, I need to remember that then.
Yeah. I'm not saying you need it. I mean,
Yes.
I do.
Ken, you talked about this a little bit earlier today when we were all chatting. How many LLMs, look at me using acronyms already, did you say are out there?
I think the last count was 39 true LLMs. And then there's SLMs, small language models, just to confuse us all. But, going back to what Phil was saying, this is what I suggest for organizations. Start using, there's 3 users, right? There's for you, right?
Yep.
And there's many different ones. Claude, Anthropic does. Meta has Llama. Google has Gemini. There's Mistral, and there's some other ones out there. Now we see DeepSeek, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But I would encourage, first of all, if you understand an organization from a company perspective, there's for me, which is the person that's working and trying to help get writing done, research, whatever that might be. And then there's the team piece, where the team is starting to use the AI tools or LLMs to either curate, build around strategy, and the list goes on. I think the ANA, the Association of National Advertisers, did a study where of that group, that was 90% of the group. B2B or B to consumer was 10% they were using the AI. So it's going to be interesting. We see that shift around from an equal out, where we're using it for me, we're using it for the teams, and then it's about the B2B or B2C plays, right?
So can you repeat that? 10%? Repeat that really quick. 10% are using it for B2C to B2B?
Yeah.
Interesting.
And the other 90% is a mix between internal team building, content, and the list goes on.
Yeah, if I can add, I think what's happening there is that human factor, because if we're using AI to create messaging, if you're a salesperson, you want to come across authentic and as human, and AI it's just getting better. You have to teach it what to say, what not to say, how to say it, and so it just takes time and investment when you get an LLM to actually get it to a point where it'll start to build trust on your user and your consumer.
Alex, I'm going to try to sound really smart right now. You talked about the RAG the last time you had this conversation. Did I use that properly? Did I do it?
Yeah.
Did I?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it.
So go a little in depth in that. Talk to me a little bit about the RAG.
I'll try my best, and I'm no expert. I'm still a student. When you get an LLM, you can get a RAG model, and what this RAG model does is really focuses it in and narrows down on information you need it to focus in, right? And for example, if you're in an organization that has brand-specific guidelines, it will then say, all right, let's zoom into what the prompt is, right? And then only zoom into this area to start to filter in what I'm going to use to send back to the LLM, right? So it's filtered. It's got more of a satisfaction level, right? That we can trust on. And there's other things like LLMOs that we were talking about, Ken, where we can get into. And it's all about really taking that LLM to that next level and personalizing it for your organization or yourself.
Dare I say that it feels more personalized
Yes.
to the user, right? Right?
Yeah, and I use an example as like Spotify, and we all have Spotify or Pandora. This has been going on for years where they suggest music that you like, right?
Perfect. Yeah.
It took years until I can trust it to say, oh, this isn't a good spot. I like it.
I now have my
and
own personalized DJ on Spotify.
That's-
I love him.
that's
He's
an
amazing.
example.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's
all about learning,
Yeah.
So I was gonna say that's a great example, Alex, because we talk about the creep factor. So I like it because that's like a concierge kind of thing. Like let's these are recommendations for you. It's not like the thing we were talking about before with the lawnmower,
Right.
right? I'm having a conversation with my wife about getting a lawnmower, and then all of a sudden I have an ad for a lawnmower. I mean, no,
Yeah.
don't do that to me.
They're listening to us.
They're listening.
Well, you led me perfectly into the next topic of risk versus reward, and we said it a couple of times, the creep factor. Kim and I have even had this conversation over glasses of wine, shocker, about that, but how we personally like to have brands engage with me. And for me personally, I want them to know me. I want to feel like they know me when I go into the store. I want to feel like they know me when I get the catalog, when I get something digitally from them. Kim, not so much.
Little more reserved?
a little more reserved.
Little more reserved than that?
Little more reserved. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about when is it too much? Can you take it too far? So Carrie, I'm going to pick on you again. How do you avoid the creep factor?
Yeah, AI is a game changer, but I caution us all to remain humble and make sure we're constantly monitoring consumer responses by sentiment monitoring tools and test for sure. Understanding those landmines, understanding even more so that some categories are more inclined to have consumers feel that it is creepy if it's in the healthcare category, pharmaceuticals, banking, insurance, even DC politics. Nobody wants to know where you're aligned anymore. But we need to make sure that we're not being overly intrusive, crossing that line, because if you're serving up irrelevant content, it feels like spam. And we need to encourage our customers, our consumers to participate in the control of their information. That's a big part of this transparency as well. So I would say level set and remain curious.
Yeah. Ken, what about finding that happy balance? Like, how do you know if you've gone too far? How do you prove if it's working or if it's not?
Yeah, I think, well, we step back a teeny bit, is less is more if the less is smarter. So if we've created the golden profile, golden record, done our job aggregating and wrangling the data about the person or the company that you're appealing to, that's a good place to be in. So I think, I remember when Alex was at Gap and they were looking around, how are we going to, with our loyalty program and our zero party or first party data, utilize it to the nth level, but not get creepy? And I said, well, why don't we take an approach where we Gap want to learn more about our consumers and their journey to purchase, and know that when they purchase a pair of jeans, we can then put a complement against that, which is the shirt, the right color, the right size to take them to the next purchase place, and they start trusting the system, and they know it's helping them through that journey. Just like Alex was alluding to earlier, I would use Netflix. I mean, I go on Netflix, it knows exactly what I want to watch, right? Build the trust, de-risk it. And then the other piece here is, if you put a lens around the marketing automation platforms that are given today, right? We've got a lot of talent that are running those marketing automation platforms, email campaigns, journeys, and all they're doing today is turning that on. And they're not considering the better messaging, the smarter messaging. That's where we need to have a paradigm shift. And then we can get into the whole thing about creative automation that powers the marketing automation. Creative automation today can create thousands of derivatives in seconds. But let's make sure, whether you're using AI or algorithmic logic that is intelligent, to produce the right message to the right audience, one-to-one.
So I want to pose something to you. And one of the things that we've been talking about internally, because of now our capability of doing this personalization at scale, we keep talking about retailers and taking the catalog to a more personalized level. So you've used the point of, you buy, they know that I'm buying more jeans than I am skirts or whatever the case might be. And I would love for somebody that I shop with all the time to send me something specific to that. And so whenever you say the creative, you'll have to help me again, what you've just spoke to, is that the type of technology that you're talking about that would have to be used to help curate something like that? Kim, was this creative? I can't remember what the word was that you used, but some kind of creative platform to help develop content.
So creative.
Does that feel? Oh, we're gone.
No, we're there.
Okay, you're still there. We just can't see you. There you are. We're back. We're back. Is what I just described feasible? Like from a creative perspective?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It is. The technology is
Everybody
there.
Hear that out there?
I always say
feasible. Let's do it. Let's do it. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, yeah, the technology is there. Obviously, AI is going to amplify how you do those personalizations, hence the word hyper-personalization we've been talking about. But the tech is there. It's now finding the right partners to help you curate and build that ecosystem to turn it on, right?
Yep. Phil, what are your thoughts?
Well, I'm learning a lot. I mean, I'm not the MarTech expert, but I think that if you're a CMO, again, I don't want to sound too preachy, but if you're a CMO, you need to know the technology, at least get familiar with AI, and know that. And Ken mentioned this before. I guess AI can automate the entire value chain, the marketing value chain. And obviously, I'm very interested on the data side and on the attribution side, because it does lend itself to analytics. But in between, the right targeting, who you're going to target and how much you know about them, again, the personalization piece and what messaging you're going to give, and everything in between. And then I would say even try to have some agility to that. Like you mentioned healthcare, like got to know compliance issues and things like that. So there's a lot to it. I mean, I'm actually shaking right now. I'm kind of nervous. There's so much to it. But
yeah. I mean, Alex, I'm going to pick on you because we do talk about risk and reward, and we've talked about the healthcare industry and the pharmaceutical industry. You're in that space. There has to be a whole nother level of consideration with what you guys are doing right now.
Yeah, when we think about creating a message, creating a claim, creating an image, we have to think about HIPAA. We have to think about FDA, California protection regulation. If you're doing it global, all the regions around the world, and be tuned on what those regulations are. In any pharma or health space, you go through an MLR process where it's it's risk averse, right? A group of people review these by eye. One of the areas and opportunities we're looking at is how do we use Gen AI to actually fast track the MLR process? This is something that we're looking into. But it's still risk adverse, right? And you got to trend with carefulness and going into this and understanding that what you're using AI and Gen AI for is actually being filtered through again until we get that confidence level and we can kind of trust it and let it flow through.
Yeah, Alex, I remember the GSK days. We built, or we're building, what we call a small language model, which is a large language model, but very specific to an industry, hence GSK's life sciences, right? And we fed that SLM all the regulatory information, the governing bodies globally, so that when we were and brand guideline information, so when we had an ad, a 30-second ad or a print campaign that's going into a region or a country, it would red flag where there were issues or had broken the rules. And that to me is a TVA, tangible value application, where you still need a human, but at least it's pulling out the ones that are not compliant, right?
And I have conversations with our compliance, legal, regulatory folks, and I ask them the question, I'm like, what are the top 3 things you look for when you're scanning through documents, or what are the 5 things? And we'll start there. And the idea is to start with these LLMs, start teaching this, run documents through it, and start testing. Get that confidence level up, so then we can start using the technology.
And folks out there are probably going, we don't have the resources, or we don't have the talent or the knowledge. Start looking for those partners out there. Get on calls like this where there's people sharing perspectives and intelligent ways to approach it. That's how you start building that thought leadership for yourself.
I always connect the problem with money and time. And if you can really articulate the problem with money and time, I think you get far within an organization and get a leadership to actually understand what you're trying to accomplish, and you get some backup. And get yourself some funding, get yourself a budget to do this stuff. That's extremely important.
Yeah. I'm going to take us back to way earlier in the conversation, but you guys have mentioned it a couple of times about, just the 2 of you collaborating and doing demos and engaging with companies. And so where are you finding those people to connect with? What are some good resources, I guess, to kind of start the process of researching and learning?
I'll start.
Go ahead, Alex.
Look, it's like when guys like going to Home Depot and Lowe's just to look at tools. It's if you think of that analogy, that's how we think about technology. And I'll call Ken and be like, hey, did you check out this tool? It does X, Y, Z, and we like nerd out and look at it, and comparing notes.
Yeah, I think the Adobe conferences, I think IHAF, In-House Agency Forum, ANA, Association of National Advertisers, now has a track for the last 2 years around MarTech, because they realize their base, which is 3,000 strong CMOs, are trying to build either in-house or creative operations to get smarter about turnkey content, right? So that's when you're going to get exposed. Look for those boutique consulting firms that play in the MarTech space, right? The Carries of the world, and that's where you're going to get intimacy, and they're going to hold your hand through the journey, and let them build a business case for you, right? Like Alex is saying, you can build a business case, use that PowerPoint as a vehicle to go to the C-level and go, look, this is where we can pull some levers.
Yeah, a good resource, chiefmartech.com. Ken mentioned it before.
Yeah, Scott Brinker.
Great job of capturing the landscape. This thing, when you open up the image, they're so tiny, but you can zoom in and it categorizes all the MarTech by categorize. Like Ken said, it's upwards of 13,000 plus technologies.
Over 14. Scott Brinker started that, I think, 15 years ago. He's an MIT boy, HubSpot exec, and it's over 14,000. Alex, that's a great idea. That's a good relationship there.
Also, the 4As, the American Association of Advertising Agencies, for the agency side, they also have a MarTech forum that you'd want to check out.
Great.
Yeah, I want to put a plug in too, if you don't mind. Not for my company or anything, but not so much on the MarTech side, but on the AI side, just learning AI. There are a lot of good resources for sure. I like Connor Grennan. So Connor Grennan's he works at the Stern School at NYU, but his content is phenomenal. He has a course for, here I am, I'm going to get a commission out of this if you get anything. But I took his course, it's like $100 or something, I don't know, it wasn't, but you know, he really makes it relatable, you know, he talks about AIs being like, you know, think of like the Russian nesting dolls, you know?
Yes,
I'm
yep.
like, this is what I like. I mean, people can talk to, like, how Phil can understand it, you know?
Yeah.
So AI is like the nesting doll. You pop it off, then you have machine learning, you pop that off, right? Then you have generative AI, which you pop that off, and then you have large language models. But I'm like, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
I'm beginning to understand now. You know, but I put a plug in for him. It's really good.
Now, this is even really helpful for me. I say all the time that, yes, I'm in print, but I feel like I talk data and technology way more than I talk four-color process or ink on paper. And
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
There you go.
And I'm not the smartest person on the, you know, I'm missing a couple of tools out of here, but we really do. Like if I think about most of the exchanges that I'm having in RFPs and whatnot, there is a technology component that is a huge piece of the puzzle. And everything that we're talking about with all of our customers, regardless of industry, regardless of what they're trying to achieve, everybody's just trying to do it smarter, faster, better, right? And cheaper, to your point about the dollars and cents of it all. So we have a little bit more time. Kim, any other questions coming from the crowd? We've had some really good back and forth here recently.
Yeah, we do have a few more questions. So, Mike from New Jersey, we're going back to maybe Carrie because this is a legal question. Are there things we need to consider from a legal perspective?
Yeah, appreciate that. And we've talked about it a little bit. Is there anything more that you guys want to share from kind of the legal side of all of this and how it can, speaking of risk versus reward, what are the risks there that we need to be thinking about? Yeah,
Alex
Carrie.
probably knows the most about this.
Yeah, I'll go back to it. It's really thinking about the claims from a marketing perspective, that they are true, that they're filtered through the lens of the HIPAA and FDA and through your MLR process. And what MLR process is: legal, regulatory, compliance review. And so it's very important that you run it through that filtration in order to minimize risk.
Yeah, I read about some of this in preparation for today, and one of the things, you download an app and it says, allow the app to track your activity or whatever, and it always freaks me out whenever I see that, and so I usually say no. But they were saying now from a legal perspective, you have to get the buy-in from the consumer and let them feel like they're making a choice for you to be personal with them. And so now, given the opportunity to say, this is why we're asking to track, and make it a very casual conversation between the user and the brand, and again get people to go along the journey with you, and they're kind of giving you permission to be able to get as personalized as we're getting. So I think it's interesting how we're even trying to broach that and doing it in a more sophisticated, more thoughtful way about how we're talking to consumers and getting them engaged. So we want to be cognizant of everybody's time, but I do want to take a moment, one, to thank the panel again for being a part of this, but we've had some really great conversation and want to just hear from each of you, just a quick wrap up, any final thoughts from the panel. Carrie, I'll start with you.
I think of it as the golden rule, market unto others as you would like to be marketed to. We all know what it feels like to be impinged upon, and it's not a good feeling. So you don't want to be part of that. You mentioned risk mitigation, understanding, that there could be possible fines. Even worse than that, you could tarnish your brand. So when things go bad, you need to be cognizant and aware of that and have a crisis management plan in place as well. But largely, I feel like this is a huge opportunity, a true game changer when it comes to creating a preference by responsibly using AI.
Yeah, it's the revolution. Like you said, the revolution's upon us.
Yeah.
Ken, what are your thoughts? Final thoughts?
I just think be curious and learn as much as you can at an individual level, and then of course as a team, and then of course the corporation level. It will be a competitive advantage if you start deploying and activating and using these tools, period. So you've got to be on that journey. If you're ignoring it, it's only going to kick you in the butt later on.
Yeah. Alex, your final
Excited.
thoughts? Yeah.
technology. I'm really excited where this is going. It's hard to keep up because it's moving so fast. And I think that's the challenge of it all. It's just really keeping up with it and seeing what to do. But you have to try it and you have to get started somehow. Get started. My advice is get started small. Find a little task that you think, hey, I think AI can do this, and get that started. See if it works. And then go from there. Prove yourself, prove the theory, and then get started and move on to the next.
Yeah. We didn't even talk about A/B testing today, but hearing you say that, we're hearing a lot of our customers ask to do A/B testing from a personalization perspective and figuring out what works. And so, to your point, can't hurt to try, right? I mean, at least test it and see where it takes us.
Yeah, and the other thing I would say really quickly is don't think about the technology. Think about what you want to envision and get done, and then find yourself a group of people or a partner or mentor that can help you talk through the technology within your organization. Talk to your data scientists, your tech teams. Have to start that conversation, right? So people understand what you're trying to accomplish, and you can start getting partners and getting your crew together. That's very important.
Yep, love it.
Let me just emphasize that by saying this is important to get a posse around you, including people in the C-suite, to endorse this initiative. You can't do this alone. You don't want to be stranded on an island doing your own thing and going rogue. You need to have partners internally and externally to make that happen in the right way.
Carrie, great point. I will tell you that in the last 2 years, I've never seen more center of excellences or groups being formed within organizations, Fortune 1000, to be the AI team, right? Alex, you're on an AI team. Get on those teams. And if a Fortune 5000 and even smaller companies don't have that, you're not getting yourself ready.
They took everything I was going to say.
Of course. Come on, dig deep, Phil. You've got something for us.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there should be a sense of urgency, particularly with people that are in the marketing space, because I mean, you're going to get dusted if you don't. I mean, start with the platforms and the data. Have partners that know what they're doing, and then think of the potential that's out there, the art of the possible with AI. I mean, there's going to be a day where you're going to have access to a doctor 24/7, to a lawyer 24/7, to a software developer, to a tutor, to a mentor. I mean, that's happening. That's going to happen. Yep. So if you're a CMO, get in the game.
Yeah.
Yep. Moore's law is gone. Moore's law is done. Right. So it's agentic law now. Right.
Yeah. I will wrap by saying this. Another conversation that I loved having with Carrie was, she's like, there's a lot to it, but when you can get personalization right, it makes your heart sing. So I think there's a ton of opportunity now to get it right, and take some risk and give it a shot and see where this takes us. But we're definitely going to have to figure it out. So everybody, thank you so much. And thank you to everybody that has joined us today. Appreciate the time, but we do want to give you a few minutes back, hopefully, of your day. Thank you for the engagement. We do want to continue the conversation. We've talked a lot about forming relationships and partnerships. Sandy Alexander wants to be on that journey with you. If you want to connect with any of the people that we have on the panel, I know where to find them. You can find them on LinkedIn. So let's keep this conversation going for sure. So I hope that you hear from us. hello@sandyalexander.com. You can reach out. Also remember to reach out and get on sandyalexander.com/news to download some of the content that we've created. And thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. I hope that you guys all took away some nuggets from today. I know I've learned a lot and have really enjoyed it. So with that said, Kim, I think this is a wrap.
Hey, Betsy.
Well done.
It is a wrap. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in, and go make it a glimpse kind of day.